Hello and welcome to yet another tutorial by Davies Media Design. My name is Michael Davies, and today I'm going to be talking about image precision, bit depth, and integer versus perceptual gamma. I'll warn you now, it's going to get very technical today, though I have tried to break these concepts down as simply as I can. I'll be using GIMP version 2.10.18 for this tutorial, which is the latest version of GIMP at the time of this tutorial. But of course, before I get into that, I want to direct you guys over to my website at daviesmediadesign.com. As always, I have tons of GIMP and Inkscape tutorials on here, as well as my GIMP book of layers and GIMP and Inkscape help articles, so definitely check that out. You can enroll in my GIMP 2.10 masterclass from beginner to pro photo editing on Udemy. You can enroll in any of my Skillshare classes by visiting gimpschool.com, and you can get more with a premium membership to Davies Media Design. Your premium membership includes access to my GIMP Help Center app, ebooks like my GIMP Book of Layers, and exclusive content not found on YouTube. You can start your premium membership off with a 7-day free trial, and I'll include a link to this as well as all the relevant links from this tutorial in the description of the video. For starters, GIMP offers a variety of image precision settings by coming over here in GIMP and going to Image Precision. And you can select a single option from the top portion here. They range from 8-bit integer to 32-bit floating point. And you can also choose a single option down here as well. And these options range from Perceptual Gamma sRGB to linear light. The options up top are your image precision options, and the options on the bottom are your channel encoding options. So what options should you choose and why? I'll start by explaining bit depth on its own, and we'll later cover the difference between integer and floating point precision. Finally, I'll cover the channel encoding options, ending with a summation of what settings you should use based on your computer setup. The first concept you need to understand is the bit. A bit, which stands for binary digit, is what is used by your computer to turn digital information into things like color on your screen. We've all heard of how computers use zeros and ones to process information. Those zeros and ones are the values of your bits. In GIMP, image information can be displayed, edited, and stored in 8 bits, 16 bits, or 32 bits. These are called bit depths. To break down what this means, let's look at the smallest bit depth offered here, which is going to be 8 bits. When an image is said to be an 8-bit image, this refers to how many values are contained in each color channel in a color pixel. GIMP works in an RGB color space, which means each image has 3 color channels, red, green, and blue. So each color channel contains 8 bits of information. These bits, which again are zeros and ones, can create numerous combinations of colors for displaying pixels in your image and storing editing information, especially since there are 3 color channels for every pixel. So let's take a single pixel and look at a single color channel for that pixel. This is just to break things down simply. The red channel, for example, of a single pixel has 8 bits of information. One possible combination is that all bits are zeros. So what you would have is 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So that is 8 bits of information. All 8 bits contain zeros, and these zeros represent the value for the red color channel. In this case, having all zeros means there is no red value in this pixel. Another possible combination is that the value of all 8 bits are ones. So you would have 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, hopefully that was 8 ones. This means that your pixel contains 100% of its possible red value. So apart from these two simple examples of possible combinations, any of these 8 bits can be a 0 or a 1. This creates, in this case, a total of 256 possible values for our red color channel. The values are going to fall between the range of 0 and 255. So again, there are 256 total combinations falling between 0 and 255. But remember, we also have a green and a blue color channel, and each of these color channels also has 256 possible values. To create the final color for our single pixel, we combine all 3 color channels, red, green, and blue, creating the color we see the pixel displaying in our image. To calculate the total number of possibilities this can create, we can multiply 256 by 256 by 256, each one of these numbers, of course, representing the 3 color channels, and this gives us over 16.7 million possible colors. This is how many colors an 8-bit image is capable of displaying. This same logic applies to 16-bit and 32-bit images, the difference being we can have 16 bits per color channel in a single pixel for 16-bit images, creating 65,536 values for a single color channel, or 281 trillion possible colors for the entire image. And for 32-bit images, we can have 32 bits per color channel in a single pixel, creating 4.3 billion possible values for a single color channel, or 80 octillion possible colors. Look up what octillion means, it's a real number. When you're selecting a precision mode for your image by, again, going to Image, Precision, and choosing from the top portion here, you are selecting how image data is stored in your computer's RAM while you are editing the photo. Choosing a higher bit depth means your image data will be stored more accurately while you work. This means the edits and adjustments you make to your photo will have more color possibilities, a higher dynamic range, and less artifacts. So with all this in mind, you should always work in the highest possible bit depth, correct? Well, unfortunately, it's not that simple because each pixel in a 32-bit image contains 4 times as many bits per color channel as an 8-bit image. That means working with a 32-bit image will take much more computing power than working with an 8-bit image. If you own a slower computer, this can make image editing untenable, especially when working with very large images. It may even cause GIMP to freeze and crash, and for you to lose your work. This makes 16-bit image editing a good compromise for many people. So if you come over here back to image precision, you have the 8-bit and the 32-bit options, and sandwiched between those is 16-bit. And once again, you do have 2 options there for 16-bit, which I will get into later. But at this bit depth, GIMP still produces accurate colors and reduces artifacts during image editing without putting as much strain on your computer as a 32-bit image. As I mentioned earlier, 16-bit images can produce around 281 trillion colors. In my opinion, this is more than enough colors to produce a quality and color accurate image. If you're working on a very slow computer that can't handle 16 or 32-bit images, don't worry. 8-bit images still produce high quality results, though that quality will diminish as you make more and more adjustments to your image. So when working in 8-bit precision, try to do most of your editing in your camera via the camera settings before you take the photo, so that the final photo will require minimal editing in GIMP. All that being said, I want to demonstrate the different bit depth options that are available in GIMP, and to do that, I will create 3 different compositions. Each one is going to have a different bit depth. So I'll go to File, New, and I want everything to be 1920 by 1080. And for the first one here, I'm going to go with 8-bit integer as my option, and we're going to ignore the gamma for now. So 8-bit integer, click OK. And let me hit Shift B on my keyboard. I actually want this to be filled in with white. So you can see my foreground color there is set to white. And I'll do this again, so I'll go to File, New, and I'll come back down to Advanced Options. So the second composition here, I want to be 16-bit integer. All of these are going to be integer just to start. And I'll click OK. Fill that in with white. File, New. So the third option here, we will do 32-bit integer. And let me just fill this with white so I don't have to redo the bucket fill tool there. And I'll click OK. So I've got 3 different compositions. I've got 8-bit integer, 16-bit integer, and 32-bit integer. So I'll start by coming over here to 8-bit integer. And just a quick note, setting the precision to integer means that my channel values will be displayed as integers between 0 and whatever the maximum integer value is for that bit depth. You'll see this in action in a moment. So what I want to do is grab my rectangle select tool, and I'm just going to draw a random rectangle here in the middle of my composition. Then I'll come over here to my foreground color, and making sure that I'm in the HSV mode here and that my values are 0 to 255. What I'll do here is I'll turn down the values for both my red and my green colors. So only the blue color now is set to 255. So what this means is that both of these values for the red and green channel are set to 0. So there's no red or green in this color, and my blue color is turned all the way up, and I'll click OK. So I'll hit Shift B on my keyboard to grab my bucket fill tool. And now I'm going to fill this color in. So now we have a pure blue color here, and I'll hit Control Shift A to deselect that. And I'll do the same thing for these other 2 compositions. So draw the rectangle. We're using the same blue, so 0, 0, 255. Shift B on the keyboard, fill that in. This was the 16-bit. Now we'll go to the 32-bit, grab the rectangle select tool, draw the rectangle, Shift B, fill that in with the pure blue, and just to show you guys 00255, same colors, and I'll hit Control Shift A. So remember, in theory, there's about 4.3 billion values per channel for the 32-bit, and I'll hit Control Shift A on this one. So for the 16-bit, there should be around 65,000 values, and for the 8-bit, there should be around 255 values. So how can we measure these values? What I can do is come over here and grab my color picker tool from my toolbox. So you can see the shortcut key there is O for that tool. So once I have this tool selected, I'll come over here to my tool options, and you can see under Pick Target at the very bottom here, there's a little checkbox that says Use Info Window. So check that to make sure that is turned on. And now when I click on this color, you'll see the color picker is going to give us the exact values for this color we used. Make sure this is set to pixel, by the way. So this is the value for the pixel we clicked on, and you can see it says 0, 0 for red and green, and then for the blue channel, it says 255. So this is the max value for the blue channel, and really for any color channel when we're in an 8-bit precision mode here. And you can also see over here as a percentage, this is 100%. Now, on the other hand, if I come over to the 16-bit image and I use the same color picker tool on the same color, when I click on this, you'll see now the pixel value is much larger. So instead of being 255, now it's 65,535. So you'll remember that the full range of colors that can be found in a 16-bit image are between 0 and 65,535. This leaves us with 65,356 total possibilities per color channel. So that's what this number is representing. We have maxed out the blue channel here, and that's how we got that value. And finally, when I come over here to the 32-bit image, if I click on this with the color picker tool, now you'll see the blue channel is maxed out around 4.3 billion. So this falls at the maximum end of the range of 0 to 4.3 billion, which is the amount of values that any color channel can take on with a 32-bit image. So what this demonstrates is the difference in range between the 8, 16, and 32-bit images for each individual color channel when setting each of them to display an integer value. The integer value is this value here that we were looking at, the maximum value for this blue channel. There are a lot more possibilities in the 32-bit precision option since blue values can fall anywhere between 0 and 4.3 billion, which makes this option far more accurate. For the 16 and 32-bit precision options, we can also select floating point. When this option is selected, GIMP will display the channel values as a value between 0 and 1 rather than a value between 0 and the maximum possible value for that bit depth. For example, the maximum value for the 8-bit option was 255. So let's come over here to the 16-bit gamma integer composition here, and I'll come over here to Image, Precision, and let me change this to 16-bit floating point. And this will ask me to automatically convert the gamma or the channel encoding for this, so I'll just hit Convert. Again, I'll get into the channel encoding stuff in a moment, but now I'll come back over to my 32-bit integer composition here, and I'll come over to Image, Precision, and we'll change this to 32-bit floating point. Once again, I will convert the gamma, and that will update this. So now let's come back over to the 16-bit option, and when I click on this with my color picker, instead of this now displaying that 65,000 value, it instead displays 1.0 for blue. And if I wanted to come over here and compare that, which by the way, the RGB percentage of blue in here is 100, as you can see. But if I wanted to display that as a value between 0 and 255, this is set to 255. Of course, that's only really relevant to the 8-bit option, but that's just giving you a comparison there. So same thing if I come over here to the 32-bit floating point option and click on this, this will also give me a value of 1.0. And when we convert that to a value between 0 and 255, that's 255, or as a percentage, that's 100% of the blue value there, the blue channel. Ultimately, the GIMP team recommends working in 32-bit floating point over any other image precision mode. There are a few reasons for this. For one, according to the site 9degreesbelow.com, Regardless of which precision you choose, all Babel, Gaggle, and GIMP internal processing is done at 32-bit floating point. Another benefit to working in this precision mode is that colors that are out of gamut for the sRGB color space, as well as colors outside the range for your computer monitor, known as the display range, will not be clipped, giving you access to a wider range of colors and luminance values while you edit. If you aren't sure what out of gamut colors are, I recommend checking out my tutorial on the subject, but by not clipping these values, you have access to a higher dynamic range and the ability to convert your image to various ICC color profiles without limitations. Finally, there is no performance trade-off between 32-bit integer precision and 32-bit floating point precision. Both of these precision modes will perform equally on your computer, but because GIMP's operations happen in 32-bit floating point, choosing this option will lead to higher precision in GIMP than choosing 32-bit integer. Alright, so for those of you whose heads haven't exploded yet, we will now move on to the channel encoding concept. The options for channel encoding can be found by coming over here to Image, Precision, and then as I mentioned, it's down here at the bottom. Your options are going to be Perceptual Gamma, sRGB, and Linear Light. Both of these options describe the rate at which channel values progress from dark to light. The darkest value is represented by 0, and the lightest value is whatever the maximum value is for the precision mode you selected. At 8-bit integer, for example, the maximum value you can have is 255. And of course, for either of those floating point options, the maximum value is 1. Linear light channel encoding, which you can see here at the bottom of the precision list, was designed to mimic how light progresses from dark to light in nature. This progression is represented by a straight line in a graph, which means values steadily progress from dark to light. On the other hand, the other option here, Perceptual Gamma sRGB, was designed to mimic how values progress from dark to light based on how the human eyesight detects these changes. This progression is represented by a curve on a graph, which means our eyes detect changes in light differently at various levels of luminance. For example, we detect changes to darkness differently than we detect changes to lightness. The good news here is that GIMP will automatically select the best channel encoding option by default based on the bit depth you select. So when I come over here to Image, Precision, and let's say right now we're in 32-bit floating point. If I wanted to, for whatever reason, convert this to 8-bit integer, and I clicked on it, GIMP is going to bring up this precision conversion box here, and it's going to automatically select the best option based on the bit depth I've selected. So in this case, it's going to change my gamma to Perceptual Gamma sRGB, which is indeed the best option if I want to edit in 8-bit integer. Using linear light with 8-bit integer will create posterized shadows, which means the shadows of the image will look extremely low quality, so we don't want that. On the other hand, if I chose a different option here, so let's exit out of this and go to Image, Precision, and let's say I go with 16-bit floating point. This is going to automatically select my option, which is going to be linear light in this case instead of perceptual sRGB. So I'll trust GIMP here and go with linear light and hit convert. This again is the best channel encoding option for this particular image precision mode. According to the GIMP team, most editing operations in GIMP are done using linear light channel encoding. The only time I want to use the Perceptual Gamma sRGB channel encoding is when I am soft proofing an image, or of course if I've selected 8-bit integer. But soft proofing is how you preview your image with a different color profile. I go over the soft proofing concept in my recent Out of Gamma tutorial, as well as in my How to Prepare Images for Print tutorial. Check out either of those videos for more information on that subject. An important thing to note is that exporting to a JPEG file format will convert your image to an 8-bit image. JPEG is a compressed file format and therefore doesn't export to a higher bit depth. This is why, for example, when I open a JPEG image to edit into GIMP, then convert that JPEG to 32-bit floating point and pull up the levels tool, you'll see the levels histogram contains small gaps between the values. So let's demonstrate that real quick. I'm going to exit out of the color picker here. So if I open up a JPEG by going to File, and in my case I'll go to Open Recent and choose a JPEG image, which is this image here. I downloaded this for free on Pexels. First it'll ask me to convert this to GIMP's native sRGB color space, so I'll hit convert. You'll see that GIMP will detect this as a JPEG with a lower bit depth, so this is set to 8-bit integer right now. And if I go to Colors, Levels, right now you'll see there are no gaps in the histogram here, so all of our values are represented on the histogram. But that's only because I'm in 8-bit integer mode. If I come over here and go to Image, Precision, and let's change this now to 32-bit floating point and hit Convert. So now this is set to 32-bit floating point, but this is again an 8-bit image because it's a JPEG. So now when I go to Colors, Levels, you'll see our histogram will now contain gaps here, and I can increase the size of the levels so you guys can see it better. But you can see all the gaps in between the missing values here, and this is because, again, an 8-bit image is going to contain 256 values, whereas a 32-bit image is going to contain 4.3 billion values per color channel. So I'll exit out of here. Another important thing you'll notice is that there is no visible difference between the 32-bit image and the 8-bit image. So let me come back to File, Open Recent, and just open up that image and convert it. So this is the 8-bit image, this is the 32-bit. There is no difference right now between the two images, so nothing happens when you convert it. That's because I have not made any image adjustments to either one of these images, so they are both just 8-bit images for now. But as I continue making image adjustments to both of these images, let's say I make 10 image adjustments to one image, 10 to the other, both are the same edits, you will start to see a deviation between the luminance and the colors in these photos as I continue adding those adjustments. But for right now, because we haven't made any adjustments, these are still the exact same image. On this note, there are uncompressed file formats that support 32-bit images. For example, TIFF files can be saved as uncompressed files with 32 bits of information per color channel. You can produce a 32-bit TIFF file by converting a raw image file to a TIFF file using a raw processing software like Darktable. If you're still confused as to which image precision mode and channel encoding you should use, allow me to sum everything up. 8-bit integer precision with Perceptual Gamma sRGB is best for people with slow computers that can't handle anything above 8-bit precision. For those of you with slightly faster computers that want to take advantage of the benefits of high bit depth image editing, work in 16-bit floating point precision with linear light channel encoding. Finally, for those of you with high performance computers wanting to take full advantage of GIMP's high bit depth editing capabilities, select 32-bit floating point precision with linear light channel encoding. Alright, that's it for this tutorial. Hopefully you liked it. If you did, you could check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/daviesmediadesign. Don't forget to subscribe and also click the notification icon to be notified each time I have a brand new tutorial. You can check out any of the links to my resources in the description of the video. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.